Well, hi again, sister wives now. And grab your tea tight because this one's not only messy, it's history. What transpired between Mykelti Brown, her dad Kody, and Robyn Brown is more than family soap opera. It's the shattering of a legacy, the foundation of a family crumbling under the pressure of decades of favoritism, manipulation, and quiet suffering. For the first time ever, Mykelti isn't censored. The sweet, dutiful daughter who once stood up for her father to the bitter end is no more, and in her wake stands a woman who has finally reached her boiling point. And when she finally broke her silence, it wasn't a whisper. It was an explosion. The drama was staged not in a TV booth, but on social media, where feelings are real and unedited. Audiences tuning in to Sister Wives Sunday night were still trying to catch their breath when, shortly after the show went off the air, clips started popping up on TikTok, Reddit, and X, formerly Twitter. Fans broke down each word. Did she actually say that about her dad? One poster wrote. Another. Mykelti just torched Kody to the ground and didn't flinch. Hours later, hashtags such as #Team Mykelti and Kody Exposed trended among fan forums. But what exactly happened? Why is everyone calling this Mykelti's nuclear moment? Let's rewind. The latest episode of Sister Wives starts innocently enough. Kody and Robyn house hunting again. Another move, another justification, another fresh start. But it doesn't take long before the tone turns sour. Kody laments the loss of his family, painting himself once again as the misunderstood patriarch who just wanted unity. And then there is the line that set it all off. He states, "My wives couldn't handle that I was willing to fight so much to make sure Robyn was safely kept." That one sentence. And you could sense the world freeze. Viewers sat there in stunned silence for a fraction of a second before social media erupted like a firestorm. Comments poured in. He didn't fight too much. He didn't fight for anyone else. He's still rewriting history. Safe from what exactly? Accountability? Even seasoned fans, individuals who have watched this family for more than a decade, appeared dazed. The nerve, the entitlement, the utter lack of self-awareness. And then, on Patreon, Mykelti and Tony Brown chose to face it head-on. Their tones were quiet but clipped, steel veiled in velvet. You could sense this was not premeditated anger. This was pent-up fatigue. Tony, who normally gets through commentary through joke-telling, was gripping tightly. "Mykelti?" She was even but resolute, her voice full of suppressed ire. She spoke up and said, "He didn't fight too much for Robyn. He never fought for anyone else." That sentence sliced through decades of excuses. It was like seeing someone finally utter aloud what millions had been screaming at their televisions. The internet blew up. One Reddit commenter posted, "This is the most truthful thing anyone from that family has ever said on television." Another commented, "She just destroyed Kody's whole story in one sentence." And she wasn't finished. Mykelti continued, noting how her father's definition of love has always been on the condition, as long as there is obedience, admiration, and no criticism. He wants respect, she told us, but he does not give love. Those words resonated across fan communities. TikTok videos cut her quote over footage of Kody yelling, pouting, and using religion as a weapon. Comments were filled with women describing how they themselves had been gaslighted by narcissistic fathers or boyfriends. It was no longer just reality television. It was emotional validation. The Brown family has always been about contradictions, preaching unity while living division. But this moment marked a shift. The children who once stayed quiet out of loyalty or fear are speaking, and the audience, who has watched the cracks widen over the years, is rallying behind them. Still, what makes this explosion even more fascinating is why now? Mykelti was always the peacemaker, the one attempting to remain impartial, the one not wanting to take sides in public. Even when Christine was gone, she attempted to be supportive of both her mom and her dad. But you can almost see the precise moment the illusion was broken, when Kody started blatantly blaming the other wives for his own shortcomings, while sanctifying his relationship with Robyn as if it were holy and unassailable. And don't forget Robyn's notoriety in declaring, "This isn't what I wanted." Oh, but wasn't it? Fans have been calling her out for seasons now. Robyn's crocodile tears, her martyr complex, her carefully crafted words that always seem to make her the victim. But every single major plot twist in this family's downfall leads back to the day she arrived. That's not opinion, that's observation. When Mykelti spoke on Patreon, she did not scream, she did not attack, she just told the truth. Robyn doesn't live their faith anymore. She doesn't attend church, doesn't wear her garments, doesn't adhere to the rules she used to justify joining a plural family. She wanted the idea of polygamy, Mykelti said, not the reality of it. And that line caused waves among the fandom. Because for years, the show's entire premise was built on this idea that plural marriage was a sacred calling, a test of faith and endurance. But now even the children are calling it what it really was, a power dynamic. Robyn got the husband, the others got excuses. The reaction online was electric. Instagram reels of Mykelti's quotes spread faster than TLC could delete spoilers. TikTok artists spliced her Patreon video with vintage clips of Kody declaring love to Robyn, alongside him rejecting Christine, Janelle, and Mary. What was the caption? and you wonder why your family fell apart. In one of many viral posts that accumulated almost 1 million views, one user penned, "When your own kids start exposing you, maybe the problem isn't the wives." And the thing is, the timing of all this could not be more unhelpful for Kody and Robyn. With every episode, their reputation erodes a little further. Dispelled is the myth of balance or equality. What's left is a man consumed by pride and a woman trapped in the consequences of her own manipulation. Even the way they speak now feels performative. Heavy sighs, long pauses, self-pitying monologues about how lonely they are. But as Mykelti pointed out, that loneliness wasn't forced upon them. It was chosen. They isolated themselves both physically and emotionally. They purchased larger houses, constructed thicker walls, and deluded themselves into thinking they were persecuted rather than made responsible. Online fans have begun referring to it as the golden cage, the better metaphor for Kody and Robyn's current life, rich, reclusive, and tormented by their own actions. One of the viral tweets merely declared, "They have everything they wanted and none of what they needed." And in all fairness, that about encapsulates it. This whole debacle is like a slow-motion implode. Not an instantaneous explosion, but the last break of something already broken. Every step Kody takes now, every explanation, every interview, every tear, just makes the cracks run deeper. And Mykelti, however unintentionally, has emerged as the voice of accountability. What's frightening, though, is that she's just so chill about it. There's no bitter energy, no anger, just clear sight. She's seeing her father, finally, for who he is. And by doing so, she's releasing herself from the story he constructed. That's why this feels so profound, because every single person watching understands that moment. The one where you quit trying to fix the story and just begin to speak the truth. As the dust settled on the web, one Reddit discussion best described it. "This isn't a family breaking apart. This is the truth finally surfacing." And that's what everybody's addicted to. The revelation that this narrative isn't ending. It's only becoming real for the first time. Because for every episode Kody makes excuses behind, there's a child now reflecting back at him. And this time, that mirror isn't shattering. So what's next? What will Kody do when even his most devoted daughter won't stand up for him anymore? And what does that leave for the one person he still defends more than anyone else? Robyn? Well, besties, that's where things begin to fall apart in ways none of them could have anticipated. If you've been a Browns fan from the start, you already know. This family's tale is not about love or faith or marriage. It's about what happens when control masquerades as devotion. And when that disguise finally slips, the truth isn't just ugly, it's unrelenting. So before you head out, let me know in the comments. Do you believe Mykelti's reveal will at last get Kody to face reality? Or will he simply double down on denial? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you never miss another update. Because I promise you, the next bombshells are even more dramatic. The second Mykelti's remarks were published on the internet, the Sister Wives universe spun to a halt. What started as a quiet Patreon upload became the social media version of an earthquake. Screenshots spread like wildfire, clips were reposted, and within a day, the name Brown family was trending again. Not because of an announcement of a new season, but because the fantasy of family loyalty had finally broken. Across TikTok, thousands of fan accounts analyzed her every sentence. Reddit comments swelled to hundreds of responses in a matter of minutes, as longtime fans argued about whether Mykelti had just exposed the truth or crossed a line. But there was one thing everyone agreed on. No one had ever done this before, not one of Kody's children. It wasn't simply drama, it was rebellion. And there was a different tone this time. The hurtful, critical words that habitually came after any of Kody's criticism were gone. "No, but he's still my dad" buffer, no effort to temper the blow. Mykelti addressed her father with conviction, as if having spent years keeping her mouth shut, and finally lost it. Social media caught that energy and ran with it. She's had enough of being quiet. You can tell she's been waiting years to say this. Kody's mask is slipping. His kids are seeing the real him. The comment section was a war zone. Some fans rallied to defend Kody, insisting that editing had painted him in a worse light than he actually was. But even those defenders had a hard time justifying the emotional devastation that was now out in the open. You could sense the collective exhaustion. Viewers who'd waited years for Kody to finally change were finally accepting that he wouldn't. Meanwhile, Facebook was flooded with older followers, the ones who'd watched since the early days of TLC, sharing throwback videos of the family back in their Las Vegas days. The guffaws, the Sunday lunches, the group confessions of remaining strong in faith, the contrast was stark. Those videos seemed like specters now, vestiges of a bygone era when ego wasn't all there was. And Mykelti? She did not retreat. Weeks after her Patreon announcement went viral, she doubled down again on a Q&A livestream. A viewer inquired as to whether her father had contacted her after her words spread online. Her response was cold in its brevity. "No, he doesn't call. Not anymore." One could practically hear the pain underlying her serene voice. This was not about spite. It was about sorrow. The sorrow of understanding your parent may love their persona more than they love their family. But Kody and Robyn's silence told a tale of its own. No public statement, no Twitter update, Nothing but quiet. A quiet that, to many viewers, rang a great deal like guilt. One Twitter fan encapsulated it all so well. When you're blamed for ruining your family and you remain quiet, perhaps the truth hurts too much to debate. And then the telltale reactions. Not from Kody himself, but from those around him. Christine, of course, remained calm. She took pictures of her new life with David, her smile beaming, her descriptions serene. But to those who are familiar with her, the timing was strategic. Choose joy, her message said, plain but heavy words. Fans inundated her comments. Shade, and I am loving it. Christine living her best life while Kody's crashing. Janelle, however, went another way. She posted nothing about family whatsoever. Just business, workouts, autonomy. It was as if she'd concluded the best revenge would be succeeding silently. Her silence wasn't evasive. It was strength. But it was Robyn's disappearance that shouted the loudest. Where Kody at least showed up for episodes and interviews, Robyn effectively disappeared. No quotes, no social media. Even her look on recent episodes seemed more weighted. The constant crying now seemed less genuine, more needy. Fans picked up on it. Looks like she's haunted by her own success, wrote one of her fans. Another added, you can't construct happiness on other people's suffering and hope for peace. Weeks passed and fan speculations grew. Some of the fans believed the Browns' PR team was frantically working behind the scenes to contain the situation. Other people guessed that Kody had prohibited any member of the family from commenting publicly, something eerily similar to his control-through-silence practices on television. And that's where things began getting even more sinister, because Mykelti wasn't alone speaking. Other Brown kids, such as Peden and Gwendolyn, started alluding to their own frustrations anew, telling comments in live streams. Enigmatic Instagram messages, little fragments that, when pieced together, painted a picture of emotional neglect and favoritism that spanned years. Peden even joked during one of his lives, saying, "You think Dad's mad now? Wait till he realizes we've all got microphones." It was meant as humor, but beneath the laughter was truth. The next generation of Browns wasn't afraid anymore. And the fans? They were eating it up. YouTube personalities started releasing deep-dive videos, scrutinizing each frame of each episode for indication of tension. Pundits referred to it as the fall of the patriarch, likening Kody's deterioration to archetypal narcissistic collapses, in which charm turns to turmoil once control is relinquished. Yet, amidst the entertainment value, there existed an honest human sadness. Many viewers, particularly those in big or religious families, recognized themselves in the Browns' demise. The discussions changed from gossip to empathy. Individuals brought up stories of favoritism, broken trust, and the pain of being the forgotten child. Mykelti had unknowingly opened the floodgates to something larger, a cultural reckoning over toxic family dynamics masquerading as tradition. In a now viral Reddit post entitled, "We watched the manipulation for years, and now the kids are confirming it," commenters gathered timestamps of past seasons when Kody had exhibited control patterns, shutting down dissent, playing the wives against one another, rewarding loyalty with love. The proof was countless. Fans were doing the investigative work typical of true crime podcasts. Even older TLC viewers acknowledged they'd been in on it. It didn't seem like reality TV, a complaint wrote, but real pain all along. But TLC kept quiet. No public statement, no apology. But behind the scenes, insiders snickered that executives were thrilled at the renewed excitement. Viewership had surged. Controversy wins ratings, and Sister Wives had just received its biggest shot in the arm in years. But fans started calling for accountability. Some demanded the network provide Christine and Janelle with their own spin-off, citing they were about empowerment and progress, but Kody and Robyn were about dysfunction. The rallying cry, "Give the women their own show," began trending. And yet, in all of this craziness, one question kept appearing in every comment section. Where does this leave the family now? Because the Browns are not merely a family, they are a brand, and brands require control. But what occurs when the story of the brand no longer aligns with the truth of the audience? That's precisely the crisis that's presently unfolding. The family that prided itself on openness now cracks under scrutiny. All social media silences are read as confessions. All footage of Kody's defensiveness sounds like a confession. And the more he speaks of betrayal, the more people hear the projection. As one of the fans bluntly put it on TikTok, Kody didn't lose his family. He drove them away, and then blamed them for leaving. Those words rang out across platforms. Retweeted, remixed, repeated, until they were close to a chorus. But perhaps the most chilling response came from Christine herself in an interview segment weeks later. When asked what she thought about Mykelti speaking out, she smiled gently and said, "Sometimes the truth just has to come out, no matter how much it hurts." It was plain, lovely, destructive, because behind all the rhetoric, that's what this truly is. The truth at last fighting its way to the front. And as that truth gets out, it's rewriting the narrative in its entirety. The story of the dutiful father keeping his family intact has turned around. Now it's about a man watching it all he created and dominated fall away. The fans are dubbing this the redemption arc of the wives and the reckoning of the patriarch. But for Kody, this is not a soap opera redemption tale. It's a reflection he can't look away from. And as for Mykelti, she's only just beginning. Her words have already toppled the family tree, and there's more fruit to fall. Because what comes next won't be another family meeting or social media post. It'll be the reckoning that no one, not even Robyn, can prevent. The question isn't if this family can survive. It's if they even care to anymore. And standing here on the shores of that reality, one thing is certain. The silence that once served as a shield for Kody Brown has now become the very same that is unveiling him. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next, because the next batch of revelations will make this look like simply the calm before the actual storm. Behind every perfectly curated image, there's chaos, and the Browns are no exception. When Mykelti's words began dominating headlines, something shifted inside Kody and Robyn's Flagstaff home. The calm facade cracked, and what leaked out was pure desperation. According to sources close to the family, the air inside that house grew thick with tension. Robyn's voice, which was once quivering and soft with victimhood, now quivered from fear. Not fear of judgment by the public, but fear of being exposed. Each post, each comment, each facial reaction was now scrutinized. She was aware of it. Kody was aware of it. The family who previously lived off the sympathy of the public was now fleeing from it. Robyn, who had established her entire identity as the peacemaker, found herself instead painted as the puppeteer, the manipulative force behind Kody's isolation, the silent tactician who had systematically isolated him from his wives, his kids, and even his public. Kody, meanwhile, was coming undone. All those who have been watching him all these years understand that Kody's strongest weapon has always been control. Control of the story, control of the family, control of how he's perceived. But not this time. He couldn't control anything. Not the children, not the wives, and certainly not the internet. The mirror had finally turned on him, and he didn't like what he saw. Behind closed doors, sources say, his anger and frustration escalated. He criticized TLC for editing him unjustly, complained about producers turning his relatives against him, and even went on about the woke media ruining traditional values. But subconsciously, he knew this was not a production problem. It was a consequence problem. The same empire he established based on obedience and image now was crumbling because of truth. And Robyn? She attempted to soothe him, but even she was slipping away. The viewers became aware of a slight change in her demeanor. The formerly composed, tearful Robyn now sounded defensive, even patronizing. Her tears were unconvincing. The audience wasn't accepting it anymore. She's crying because she's losing it, not because she's upset, one viewer commented on Twitter. Robyn realizes the sympathy ploy has run out, another posted. Meanwhile, within that family, the emotional gap increased. What were once long conversations regarding family cohesion became hushed arguments over reputation, brand sponsorships, and attorney contracts. The cameras may not reveal it, but tension was palpable. Because while the wives had all moved on, Christine falling in love, Janelle becoming independent, Mary finding herself again, Kody and Robyn remained frozen in an echo chamber of resentment that they had created themselves. Kody, proud, couldn't accept defeat. Robyn, guilty, couldn't help but try to repair him. And together, they were sinking, holding on to one another as their public persona went down with them. The web's verdict was stern, but true. They sought control, and now they're captive to their own tale. Yet Kody wasn't quite done. In his mind, this wasn't the finish. It was a revolution that must be suppressed. He started calling old friends, including producers and network sources, pressuring for narrative control in future episodes. He wanted Mykelti silenced. He wanted Christine to be painted as manipulative. He wanted the audience reminded of his sacrifices. But here's the irony. Each step he took to deflect only made the cracks wider. In a leaked excerpt from an interview with the cameras rolling behind the scenes, Kody's anger got the best of him. He ranted about disloyalty, claimed his kids were disrespectful, and even claimed that fame had poisoned his family. But the manner in which he'd uttered it, the anger, the self-pity, only reinforced what was already assumed by the fans. Kody was losing himself, not only his family, but himself. The video went viral overnight. Fans analyzed each frame, slowing down his features, breaking down the bitterness in his tone, and that was it. Kody Brown was no longer the pitied father struggling to keep his family intact, but the villain of his own narrative. Robyn got a reckoning of her own as well. Her tears no longer acted as a sympathy trigger. Instead, viewers interpreted them as manipulation, the betraying performance of guilt from someone who profited from the suffering of others. When she wept over wanting sisterhood, fans came back with shots of her condescending remarks against Christine and Janelle. The receipts were plentiful. You don't get to burn bridges and then cry that no one's crossing them. The story had completely flipped. Robyn, once the reserved savior, was now portrayed as the master builder of separation. Kody, once the charismatic leader, now resembled a man destroyed by pride. And Mykelti. She was the accidental whistleblower, the voice that finally spoke truth to power that everybody else had been too afraid to utter. But here's where things got really intense. The network's silence was broken. A leaked email reportedly revealed that the executives over at TLC were contemplating a restructuring of the show's story for season 2. They wanted to shift the focus from Kody's leadership to the wives' resilience, and that for Kody was the ultimate betrayal. Imagine building your identity for a decade as the patriarch, and then being told you're no longer the center of your own story. That revelation reportedly sent him spiraling. Family insiders described days of tension, doors slamming, long silences, whispered phone calls with lawyers. Kody started to be afraid of losing not only his public persona, but his income, his authority, and worst of all, his narrative power. That was where the personal went professional, and that's always when reality TV goes from fun to implode. Meanwhile, the other Brown children began subtly rallying behind Mykelti. On Instagram stories, cryptic messages popped up. Plain statements such as, "Truth always wins," "The mask always slips," and "Family shouldn't hurt this much." No one's names were used, but everyone understood who they were talking about. Fans started treating it like a scavenger hunt, piecing together dots, posting screenshots, creating timelines of emotional breakdown. It was no longer just a family drama. It was an internet sensation. Podcasts broke it down. YouTube commentary channels blew it up. Even mainstream media started reporting it, moving sister wives from guilty pleasure television to cultural case study. And amidst that whirlwind, Kody and Robyn committed their greatest blunder so far. They attempted to play victims. In a taped segment, Robyn broke down and said, "We just want peace. We just want to be left alone." But the internet had receipts. Literally hundreds of videos of her brushing off her sister wives' emotions, downplaying their hurt, and steering discussions to make herself the focus. The pushback was savage. Fans called her out in droves. "You can't say you want peace when you started the war," one top comment read. That one sentence was liked more than 80,000 times. Simultaneously, Kody's tantrum in the same episode, blaming his former wives for selfishness, only added fuel to the fire. The internet cut his tirade into memes, reaction clips, and montages named "The Downfall of Kody Brown." Each upload, each repost, each conversation solidified the same story. The patriarch had fallen. But perhaps what hurt Kody most was that the people he once dismissed, his ex-wives, his children, even the fans he once ignored, were finally being heard louder than him. Christine's quiet happiness, Janelle's calm strength, Mykelti's fierce honesty, all of it contrasted sharply against Kody's spiraling rage and Robyn's hollow tears. The dynamic that once made sister wives compelling had inverted completely. The wives had gained their liberty, and Kody was the one trapped. It's poetic justice at its finest. The tale he attempted to dictate had ultimately turned on him. And as fans cheered on this karmic twirl, there was still a sinister undertone, because underneath the schadenfreude, there's tragedy. A family that once claimed to be united under faith and love now exists in fragments. Alliances, silence, and resentment. What used to be Sunday dinners is now PR statements. What used to be family meetings is now legal negotiations. And through it all, Mykelti's words still echo. "Stop lying. You broke up our family." These words have become the battle cry of an entire generation of viewers who witnessed the facade crumble. It's no longer about one family anymore. It's about what happens when love is substituted with control, and truth is substituted with image. Because ultimately, this isn't a show about the Browns. It's a tale about us all, about the deception we speak to maintain harmony, the silence we keep to prevent discord, and the incendiary truth that ultimately reduces it all to ashes. And while this family's dynasty shakes, one thing is left. When the cameras are done, will they have anything left to salvage? Or has their act become life? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that little bell icon. Because what's coming next isn't just scandal. It's the kind of reckoning reality TV never had a prayer of surviving. When a monarchy falls, it isn't only the king who goes down. It's the delusion that he was ever above the law. And that's what's going on in the Brown family today. While Kody and Robyn frantically try to cling to the story, Christine, Janelle, and Mykelti are retelling the story in the moment. Not with spin, but with reality. It began quietly. Christine sharing raw video of her new life, smiling so easily, surrounded by laughter and love. The lighting, the attitude, even her posture yelled freedom. No more stress, no more walking on eggshells around someone else's ego. It wasn't just material, it was contrast. Each shot of Christine's bliss was a mirror reflecting Kody's despair. And viewers caught on. She glows differently now. That's what peace looks like. Christine's joy is the biggest revenge. Those were only some of the highest-rated comments pouring onto her social media. It wasn't resentment, it was vindication. For years, she'd been written off as emotional, dramatic, even jealous. Now the public could see it. She was never the issue. She was just the first to break free from the cage. And then there was Janelle. Quiet, steady Janelle, who once served as the diplomat between Kody and the rest, finally spoke up. She didn't need a viral tirade. She didn't need a speech. A single interview. One unvarnished, emotional admission of how she'd lost herself attempting to make plural marriage work, and everything changed. It was that kind of moment reality television rarely catches anymore. Truth uncooked by fear. The internet went wild. Hashtags trended. Clips of Janelle's tearful candor were posted throughout TikTok, accompanied by hashtags such as "he never deserved her" and "you can hear the years of pain in her voice." And in it all, Mykelti remained a bridge, not only between the wives, but between the old world and the new. She had become the accidental truth teller, the voice of a generation brought up on broken promises and manipulated realities. Fans listened every time she spoke, because she wasn't just sharing stories, she was drawing dots the audience had been attempting to connect for years. In her Patreon chats, she let out offhand confirmations that made headlines overnight. That Kody would put Robyn ahead even in family emergencies. That emotional separation wasn't due to jealousy but to neglect. That each choice the wives made to exit was, in fact, a final option. Each bombshell struck like a hammer. Accurate, incontrovertible, and impossible to deny. Kody and Robyn attempted to push back with their own account of things. They showed up on camera playing the sympathy card once more. "We're heartbroken. We just wanted family unity. This isn't what we wanted," but it sounded hollow. The internet had heard too much, seen too much, felt too much. "You can't cry about losing people you wouldn't fight for," one viewer commented. "This is what accountability looks like." "Get used to it," said another. Kody's biggest error wasn't falling in love with Robyn. It was judging the intelligence of his viewers. For years, he thought fans perceived him as the noble patriarch, vilified by the world. But the reality? They saw right through him. They always did. They just needed someone from within the family to legitimize it. And that somebody was Mykelti. She didn't arrive with anger. She arrived with a dose of reality. Serene, matter-of-fact, unshakable. She cut Kody's excuses to pieces with the precision of a surgeon. When he stated that the wives refused to communicate, she replied, "No, Dad, they pleaded with you to hear them out." When he blamed himself for being protecting the family, she retorted, "You were protecting your ego." That was the turning point, not only for the audience, but for the show itself. Within TLC's production sessions, discussions allegedly commenced regarding a rebrand, moving Sister Wives away from plural marriage programming and towards a docu-style dive into independence, recovery, and rebuilding. The network, for the first time in more than a decade, understood that the patriarch was no longer the narrative. The survivors were. Christine's new romance life was now a focal point. Janelle's path towards financial independence became inspirational fare. Even Mary's quiet reinvention drew empathy. But Kody and Robyn? Their scenes felt darker, heavier, almost haunted. Gone were the big family dinners and forced smiles. What remained were quiet rooms, tense conversations, and long, empty silences. The visual proof of emotional bankruptcy. And still, the irony was savage. They had everything they had ever wanted. Each other, the dream home, the cameras, but none of it satisfied the emptiness. Fans called it watching ghosts of who they used to be. "They're living in a museum of mistakes," one viral tweet complained. Each wall in that home resonates with the individuals they drove away. Robyn attempted to spin it, sharing mysterious quotes regarding forgiveness and misunderstanding. But the comments immediately turned on her. "Forgiveness begins with the truth. You have not yet discovered that." Each reply read like a verdict, thousands of viewers serving as a body of witnesses to a narrative that was no longer Kody and Robyn's to tell. Meanwhile, Mykelti's influence was spreading beyond the fan base. Her words were being quoted in digital magazines, her observations used in think pieces about family dynamics, narcissistic abuse, and faith-based manipulation. Without even realizing it, she had become the voice of the Reformation, the Brown family's accidental historian. And what she revealed next made even her most loyal fans pause. She talked about her grandfather, Kody's dad, labeling him as a brute, emotionally cold, revered but never loved. She likened him to her dad, noting that history had repeated itself. Only this time, the harm wasn't concealed. It was on TV. That moment was different. Because for the first time, viewers understood this wasn't a tale of jealousy or favoritism. It was a generational thing, a cycle of domination carried down, retailed, and marketed as religion. And Mykelti? She had shattered it. Her words were not just observation, they were revolution. She wasn't simply calling out her father. She was liberating her siblings from the emotional shackles of silence and shame. You could sense it in every phrase, the weariness, the honesty, the catharsis. The internet reacted in an instant. This is bigger than Sister Wives. This is generational healing. Mykelti's voice is what Christine started and Janelle finished. The truth finally has a face. But as the truth spread, the tension inside Kody's world became unbearable. Production insiders revealed that he began clashing with TLC over editorial control, demanding that his side be emphasized. He even reportedly threatened to withdraw from production unless Robyn's performance was rectified. But that was too late. The audience had been left behind. They were not watching for him anymore. They were watching for the wives to prevail. The empire had turned over, and the king was the last one to know. It's a sad, poetic sort of thing, because what made Sister Wives unique wasn't the plural marriage alone. It was the fantasy that love conquered ego. But ego always prevails, until someone calls it out. Until someone refuses to go along. And that's what Mykelti did. what Christine and Janelle are continuing to do. They didn't dismantle the family. They revealed the reality of what was already fractured. And that's why the fans aren't watching anymore. They're cheering on the rebuild. But with that chapter of the Brown saga coming to a close, something else is simmering, something more explosive. Because while the ex-wives have gotten their healing and their empowerment, not everyone in the family is looking to let go. There's a tempest brewing. Not from the ex-wives, but from the next generation. And when that storm comes through, even Kody's silence won't be able to halt it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that little bell icon. Because the truth that's coming next, it's not family drama. It's legacy breaking. There's an eerie quiet in the wake of truth. When the deception is stripped bare, when the illusions have been dispelled, when all the facades have fallen, and all that's left is silence, the kind of silence that doesn't comfort, it convicts. And that's where Kody Brown stands today. A man surrounded not by wives or Sunday dinners, but by the echoes of his own words, the shattered promises, the professions of love that soured like milk in the bright lights of reality. And as the dust clears, the story that once made him the visionary patriarch of a new kind of plural family now constructs him as something else again, the engineer of his own downfall. Christine and Janelle are no longer bitter. They've gone past that. They're in peace, that deadly sort of peace born of not requiring closure anymore. They're flourishing. They're rebuilding. They're living proof that life post-control isn't merely possible. It's dazzling. Social media can't get enough of it. Christine's Instagram reels, brimming with laughter and sunsets, have become an icon of reclamation. Janelle's calm confidence, her independent self-sufficiency, speaks to women who've spent decades shrinking for another's ease. The fan base has become a movement, no longer spectating but seeing. They recognize themselves in these women, the ones who lingered too long, who hoped too much, who at last said, enough. But peace is not for all. Because while the older generation is healing, the younger Browns, the ones who grew up under the weight of their father's rules, are now finding their voices. And Mykelti's outburst, that now viral explosion where she demanded truth and accountability, didn't end with her. It ignited something. Suddenly, whispers started surfacing. One of the sons, typically quiet, mannered, was apparently questioning everything. Why did we have to pretend? Why did we have to smile for the cameras when we weren't happy? Another daughter posted, anonymously on a fan account, that she felt betrayed by the illusion. And that's when it all became clear. This wasn't just a family breaking apart. It was a generational reckoning. Because for more than a decade, Sister Wives wasn't entertainment alone. It was a broadcast ideology, a system of belief presented in the guise of love and harmony. But now, the people who lived within it are referring to it as it truly was, a system that required compliance, not comprehension. The public read love stories. They experienced emotional casualties. And the greater number of adult children who are finding their place, the walls that protected the Brown family's secrets are starting to crack wide open. Sources near production suggest that some of the children are being targeted for a potential spin-off, a tell-all show, unfiltered, raw, honest. A new generation taking back their story from beneath the shadow of their father's fame. Picture it? A new show not about plural marriage, but survival after. And the fans? They're primed. Comments pour in beneath each clip. Each update, we want to hear from, the kids are the real truth. Christine and Janelle walked so their children could finally speak. Kody's silence won't protect him anymore. And talking of silence, that's Kody's new defense. No interviews, no posts, no appearances, just absence. But the internet fills silence with speculation. Whispers of drama between Kody and Robyn, of money stress, of loneliness. Images of Robyn crying at a community outing fuel endless speculation. Is this remorse, or mere acknowledgement that the cameras don't adore them anymore? The TLC's former golden couple is now a ghost legend, there, but dissipating. Meanwhile, Christine marks milestones with her new spouse, exuding a happiness so true it borders on defiant. Janelle shares vignettes of her calm domestic life, unadorned, mellow, honest. Mary, the overlooked wife, comes back on the scene with self-esteem as razor-sharp as ever. And in the midst of it all, Mykelti remains the fulcrum. Her candor, her irritation, her unwillingness to gloss the reality, it's what has fans returning. Every word she speaks carries the weight of years spent watching the family fracture from the inside out. She's not just talking about her father anymore. She's talking about every person who's ever had to smile through manipulation. Every child who watched adults pretend that love meant control. Her courage is contagious. And as her words ring out on social media, TikTok cuts, Twitter threads, podcast arguments, one reality becomes undeniable. The Brown family isn't dying. It's changing. But not all of them will get to the next chapter. Because while Christine, Janelle, and the kids are pushing forward, Kody and Robyn are holding on to a version of the past that no longer exists. And the more they fight change, the further the world leaves them behind. That's the tragedy. That's the poetry. In attempting to maintain control, Kody lost all that he was attempting to control. And now, as the credits roll on Season 3, fans are not wondering if the Brown family will get back together. They are wondering who will finally get the whole truth out. Because all secrets come with an expiration date. All silences have a sound lurking behind them. And this tale, it's not finished. It's only just beginning. And so, as we see the flames of Kody's empire fade out, as Christine dances in her new kitchen, as Janelle smiles openly for the first time in years, as Mykelti will not be stilled, we are left with one eerie question. When the truth finally reduces everything to ashes, who will emerge from the flames? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon, because what's to come next in this saga isn't just another family update. It's the moment the Brown legacy forever changes.